Hello TV fam and welcome ulit sa panibagong vlog. It's currently January 22nd. Sunod-sunod yung mga araw na nakakakalap tayo ng mga iba't ibang news na gusto naming i-share sa inyo dahil makakapekto to sa either pagpaplano nyo na pumunta sa Canada or kung nandito na kayo sa Canada at naghahanap kayo ng mga opportunities or potential na makakaharap nyo to as a challenge dahil hindi nga kagandahan ang ating news for today. So nakita nyo naman siguro in some of the videos no sa YouTube, unti-unti na nilang pinapakita yung mga domino effect ng mga desisyon na nangyayari, mga pagbabago na inimplement nila as early as last year. Di ba anong in-announce ni Justin Trudeau na babawasan nila ang mga tao na nag-i-immigrate dito sa Canada to address certain concerns? Number one dyan, yung pambahay. Pangalawa dyan, yung cost of living. Dahil nga dumadami yung tao dito, tumataas yung demand, ibig sabihin yung supply hindi naman nakaka-cope up, kaya in turn, tumataas din ang presyo. And another concern na balak nilang i-address dyan is yung job opportunity. Dahil nga masyadong madaming tao ang pumapasok sa Canada, yung mga actual residente mismo ng Canada is nahihirapan ng makahanap ng trabaho. And so to address that, ang parang pinaka-objective nila is bawasan natin, cut down natin lahat ng mga pumapasok in the coming years para ma-stabilize muna natin kung ano yung nangyayari dito sa loob ng bansa and then i-assess na lang nila yan as we go on the coming years. So, meron ako nakita sa YouTube no, na clip na gusto kong i-share sa inyo. Nang sa ganun, magkaroon kayo ng idea kung ano na ba yung nangyayari. I think this clip is very helpful para makita nyo kung ano ba yung mga defect nung mga ganyang klaseng pagbabago. Nabanggit na ni Joyce, di ba, nung in one of my vlogs, nung naghahanap kami ng property, pwedeng lipatan, nabanggit niya na para, uy, this one is over $1 million Canadian dollars. Ideally kasi dapat under $1 million eh. Para na sa ganun, medyo kampante tayo, lalo na ngayon na ang daming nangyayari, di ba? May forecast na mawawalan ng 124,000 jobs in BC alone. So, sino ba namang hindi matatakot sa ganyang mga klaseng news? So, talagang...
Can I say something about that?
Ano?
Government sector will be an exception.
Wow! Narinig niyo ba? Sabi ko nga sa kanya, medyo kailangan maging conservative pa rin tayo dahil hindi natin alam kung anong mangyayari in the future. So, dapat lagi nating i-consider yan as a factor when making big decisions such as, making purchase ng bahay. So, sinabi niya sa akin na parang yung trabaho naman ng government, usually wala namang problema dyan. Pero in this particular news, actually, because of the decision na ginawa ng government of Canada to reduce the number of immigrants na papasok sa Canada, ang unang apektuhan dyan is yung mga trabaho ng mga immigration officers. Not particularly offline, but in total, office work, frontline, lahat yan combined. Actually, they have announced recently na magbabawas sila ng over 3,300 jobs. You got that right. 3,300 jobs across the board doon sa departamento na yon. Una, iniisip natin, pag government ka, medyo nasa safe side ka. Yes, you are on the safe side, but if there are rules na nabago with regards sa, direction ng gobyerno, hindi mo masasabi. At kapareho nga nito, dahil doon sa in-implement nilang objective na yon, changes na yon sa kanilang mga goals sa immigration, in the very end, ang maaapektuhan is yung over 3,300 employees na nandito na sa Canada na mawawalan ng trabaho. Yung sinasabi ko namang amount na yan, yung 3,300 na yan, in the course of 3 years naman yan. Hindi naman sinasabing, oy, effective this month, 3,300, wala na kayo. So, ang gagawin dyan is magiging gradual reduction ang mangyayari. Now, para malaman pa natin yung kabuuan ng impormasyon, panoorin natin tong clip na to.
What will Ottawa's plan to reduce its immigration department by 20% over the next 3 years due to an already backlogged system? Starting just a couple of weeks from now, 3,300 jobs will begin to be cut in response to Canada's reduced immigration targets and budget pressures. That's the reason given for the job cuts. But several advocates and immigration experts have concerns. What does this do to an already backed up system or to those who are waiting to be processed?
So, yon yung kaninang binabanggit natin. There will be a job reduction, job cuts of over 3,300 in a course of 3 years. Tuloy natin yung video.
As of November of last year, Canada had more than 2 million applications in the queue, more than 1 million. So half of that was sitting in a backlog situation.
So sinasabi natin doon sa announcement nila, no, even they've taken that into account, there are over 1 million backlogs. No, in terms of immigration papers processing, yon madaming tao ang nag-aantay ng kanilang mga papeles in terms of processing ng status nila and so on and so forth. So you can just imagine yung backlog na yon, kalahati. There are over 2 million applications or papers or documentations in process. Now, with the cut o job cut, meron nang backlog of over 1 million. Ano na yung magiging epekto nun pagka nag-reduce pa sila ng tao? So, yung backlog nila, magiging back-to-back na backlog talaga. Anyway, tuloy natin tong video.
For a closer look, we've brought in Rick Lamana, partner with Fragerman Law Firm and board member at the Canadian Immigration Lawyers Association. Good to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Emery.
Just to set up what this will do, I want to first of all let people know, how long does it typically take to process applications like a work permit or permit residency? And then what will change once there's less staff?
So the processing time really depends on where the person is applying from. Typically, they can range anywhere from a few weeks to a couple months. Permanent residence can take quite a bit longer, which is normal. To your question, what this will do is I think it's fair to assume that people need to expect longer processing times across the board. So that's not just sort of people coming in on a work permit. It'll mean people already here looking to extend their status, people who were anticipating, let's say they've been selected to apply for permanent residence, and they think, okay, I'll have this status in, let's say, 8 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. That could be close to double, depending. So I think elongated processing times will be the result.
Well, and a lot of people in this country, when you're born here, you don't have to go through this process. So it's worth explaining to people that time is of the essence here. It's not just inconvenient that you wait longer. Sometimes it means you have to book a ticket home.
That's right. It affects individuals. It affects businesses, of course, who are anticipating having certain skilled labor on the ground, when they need them. For those who are already here looking to extend their status, it could mean delays of months.
So, post natin yung video. Nabanggit niya na parang malaking epekto din ito sa mga skilled worker na tinatawag. No? Pwede kang parang nagtatrabaho ka sa agriculture, yung mga ganyang klaseng trabaho, specialized, no? May in terms of pagpaproseso or paghahanap ng mga tao, medyo maaantala, matatagalan, at medyo mas challenging ang mangyayari. So, swerte ka na kung halimbawa nandito ka, at least nandito ka na, pero yung mga iba na nag-a-apply pa lang, malaking tsansa na matatagalan na ang application ng mga tao papunta dito sa Canada. Tuloy natin tong video.
Just to be able to go home and visit family, attend a wedding, go to a funeral, all of these things matter on a both individual and a business level.
Here's what I don't understand. We saw government officials last year come out and say, we apologize, the system is in crisis. A lot of it has to do with job shortages and that we can't get enough people to get this stuff processed. And now they've gone ahead and said they're cutting more people. How will these backlogs also affect people like employers or the court system?
It definitely will have an effect on business. Businesses need to be prepared that things will take longer. So for them, it's sort of having a longer sort of runway. If you know you're going to need, let's say, an individual or group of people, you need to plan ahead. The court system, I think, similarly, we're already starting to see the backlog increase, especially those for asylum claims. The government's assumption was that hundreds of thousands of people with their pathways sort of blocked to permanent residence would just pick up and leave. And I don't think it's going to happen as they anticipate. I think a lot of people are going to do what they can do to try to stay, and that would mean filing for asylum.
Yes, that is my next question. So without the extra staff, because it is a separate department that deals with asylum claims, how are we going to manage those? You know, as you said, one pathway to citizenship is closed. You claim asylum. How will that affect asylum seekers and the department as a whole?
So if you look at the job cuts, what they've done is they've essentially gone back to their staffing levels just before the pandemic. A lot of the hires they made were temporary contract, things of that nature. And that is largely the group, not entirely, but largely the group that's being cut back. And so you're left with about 10,000 employees. So the question really becomes, you know, are they going to shift employees in one area to handle, like you're mentioning, this sort of upcoming backlog? But then what does it do? It is a pie, right? So you take from one, you give to the other, so it remains to be seen, but I think it will definitely impact all levels of immigration processing.
So yung tinatawag dyan na restructuring. So magbabawas sila ng mga tao, and it's a good thing to note na majority daw ng 3,300 na yon are somewhat either nasa temporary or full-time contract position. Pero hindi nila lahat ng mga empleyado under that 3,300 na ikakat nila is nasa ganyang estado. Pwede din silang mag-cut doon sa mga regular position siguro, malamang. But they will offer them siguro early retirement package. Yan yung mga usual na ginagawa ng mga kumpanya, lalo na kung halimbawa full-time ka. So, hindi talaga kasiguraduhan na nagtatrabaho ka sa gobyerno na medyo secured yung inyong trabaho. Pero pag ikukumpira mo yan sa mga private sector, malaki ang pinagkakaiba. Dahil kung i-compare mo between private and public sector, mas mabilis kang mali-lay off o matatanggalan ng trabaho kung nasa private sector ka. Kung nasa public sector ka naman, hindi ganun kabilis kasi medyo may politics and policies na kailangan niyang daanan, no? Lalo na kung halimbawa nasa union yung posisyon na tatanggalin nila, meron niyang kailangan proseso na dapat daanan bago matanggal ang isang regular full-time employee. Tuloy natin yung video.
Court system and the regular processing.
Plus, with the changes coming to our immigration laws and what happens to asylum seekers, this again contributes to part of that problem. Really quickly, in our national security screenings, foreign interference from last year, one of the things that came up is potential problems in screening during immigration. So with less staff, how is Ottawa ensuring that the immigration process screening?
So doon palang marinig nyo, no, kapareho nung parang nangyari sa atin, nag-layoff ng mga tao over 6,000 employees. And yung mga trabaho ng 6,000 employees na yon, masasubdivide yon at malilipat sa mga natitirang empleyado. At ganyan din ang na-experience natin doon sa huli nating trabaho. Continue natin yung video.
So they're using a lot of AI-based tools to try to facilitate that. I think the issue is, along with less staff, along with longer processing times with less staff, what type of decision making are we going to get? Right? It's not just about things are going to take longer, but will you see curious refusals? Will people get through that perhaps shouldn't? There are different departments that handle that from a security standpoint, but I think the point remains that with less people, it's just going to be very difficult to maintain that same service standard.
Pause natin yan. Narinig niyo yung sinabi niya. Kapare nung vlog natin, no, makikita niyo dyan sa screen niyo, no, dito sa area na to. Yung thumbnail na yan, it refers doon sa mga potential solution or alternative option na meron ang gobyerno or ang mga private companies to address yung mga pagtanggal nila ng mga tao. At yan yung sino-point out natin last year, yung AI. Tuloy natin itong video.
Really quickly before you go, what happens to asylum seekers while they're waiting?
They're here. They're here. They're able to work, but essentially they're in limbo. It's it's a temporary sort of stay until their application is adjudicated. So they're here and they're waiting for their application to be processed, and that could take quite some time, especially with the backlog.
Rick Lamanna, I want to thank you for coming on this morning, answering our questions around the changes coming to immigration. Thanks so much.
So tapusin natin dyan yung video clip na sinishare ko sa inyo. No? It's very informative. At nung napanood ko tong video na to, I think it's very well worth it na ma-share ko sa inyo dahil malaking impacto sa atin. No, lalo na tayo, ako, si Joyce na nagtatrabaho sa government, this is something that we should also take into consideration sa mga future decisions na gagawin namin. Kapareho nung pagbili namin ng bahay. So, again, matatapusin na natin ang ating vlog. Maraming salamat sa panonood sa aming channel. At kung hindi pa kayo subscriber ng ating channel, click nyo na yung subscribe button, yung notification bell. At saka kung meron kayong natutunan or meron kayong nalaman na bago regarding sa information na shinare natin, click that thumbs up para sa ganun makatulong sa YouTube na malaman nila na yung video natin is worth sharing. Again, maraming salamat at magkita-kita tayo ulit sa susunod na vlog. Paalam!
City of mine, how I love the city of mine. It never gets me down.